All right, 7:37. We're about to begin here. Good evening, fellow commissioners and the general public. My name is Michael Champness. I am the chair of the Transportation Advisory Commission. Before we begin, please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the county website and on YouTube. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by new state legislation and FOIA, Transportation Advisory Commission needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It is a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of the commission is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and that an appropriate volume for all of the other members. Ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. I'm asking that each commission member participating in this meeting state your name and the location from which you are participating when I mention your name. At large, Linda Sperling. Braddock District.
I'm here and I'm participating from Clifton, Virginia. And I don't know how the mute button works. Sorry about that.
You'll get practice. You'll get practice. Okay. Braddock District, Kevin Morse. I believe he's not going to be here, but just to be sure. Okay. Janesville District, that's moi. I am here. Hunter Mill District, Kelly Westenhoff.
I'm here from Reston.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kelly. Mason District, Roger Hoskin. Okay, Roger's not here right now. Mount Vernon District, Pete Sitnick.
Pete Sitnick is here. I'm in the Mount Vernon District near Alexandria.
Fantastic. Lee District, Alexis Glenn.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can.
Okay. I just had to join via phone on the audio. Like I had no audio on the computer.
Wow, this is weird. We're all getting problems like Kelly here. Okay. Providence District, Jeremy Hancock.
Hi, Jeremy Hancock in Falls Church.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeremy. Springfield District, Eric Thiel.
Here in Fairfax Station.
Okay. Sully District, David Skiles. Okay. And Fairfax Area Disability Services Board and our Vice Chair, Commissioner Jones.
I am here from my home in Herndon.
Fantastic. At this point, I will pass the gavel to Vice Chair Jones so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion.
Thank you. I accept the virtual gavel. I now recognize Commissioner Champness.
Thank you. I move that we have determined that each member's voice can be adequately heard by each other member of this commission. It is so moved.
You have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Pete Sitnick from Mount Vernon.
It has been seconded. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Chairman, the motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. I next move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. I further move that this commission may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by WebEx online platform or by calling 1-415-655-0001 or 1-844-621-3956, toll free, and entering the access code 179-497-7881. The phone number for ADA is 711. Access information is also available at the Tack website. It is so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Westenhoff, Hunter Mill.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Chairman, the motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Finally, I move that all of the matters on the agenda previously furnished and posted on the TAC website are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government and/or are statutorily required or necessary to conduct operations in the discharge of the Commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
You have heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll
Eric.
second it. It's Pete.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Chairman, the motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
I-
We'll not.
I'll now pass the virtual gavel back to the chairman.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Jones. We will now start the tax business per the approved agenda. So the first item here is Chair's remarks. And let me take a moment to explain the situation. Electronic snafus, challenges, communication seems par for the course for this meeting here. As we discussed last month, we had hoped to be able to talk about complete streets this meeting. Commissioner Sitnik and Commissioner Hancock had had some communications about that topic. And so we're getting ready to do that. Unfortunately, Rachel Flynn was unable to join us. We found this out on last Thursday. These things happen. And she, of course, has a lot of responsibilities on her plate. We talked about perhaps having the FCDOT staff come anyway to just have an open dialogue on complete streets. I'll say FCDOT was a little uncomfortable about doing that because, and it's to their credit and we appreciate it, let's become prepared. Like to be ready with some charts and some thoughts and to be organized. And while they respected the invitation to come for an open dialogue and open discussion, they politely demurred. And of course, we honored that request. We're not going to drag somebody in here against their will. We don't subpoena. That's not the way this works. And so, unfortunately, that left us with an opening on the calendar. So what I've done here is I've moved up a little bit some of the conversation for the work plan. It's scheduled for 40 minutes. It doesn't necessarily have to take that long. I was going to try and put a chart or two together myself, but as you maybe tell from the background, I'm not at home. I'm at my sister's. My father has been ill, so I'm up visiting him. And so another challenge there to putting some materials together. And so that's why I say I think this is going to be a fairly short meeting, although we'll see where the conversation goes. There's no expectation just to keep going and going, just to keep going and going. But if there are some things that come up in the conversation, of course, we'll continue doing those. Later on the meeting, we'll talk about when we reschedule the Complete Streets meeting. Spoiler alert, we'll try and do it next month, assuming that commissioners still want to do that, and also talk about some other schedule items as well too. So won't be a complete loss here. I think we'll still be able to do some productive business, but I will also apologize for not being able to be as organized as I would have liked to get into some of the conversation about the preparation of the work plan. I don't want to keep coming back to the work plan all the time, but given the situation, I felt we needed to at least spend a little bit of time on it, and I think it does fit in with the schedule there. So with that, I will open it up for any quick comments or questions, and then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
was there any chance that Rachel gave us a rain date? I mean, she's really good. I mean, I think we really like to hear from her, if all possible.
Absolutely, next month. What we're going to try to do is next month.
She's up for that. All right, great.
Yes. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, and we can talk a little bit about complete streets. Just to get our own gyros aligned a little bit. A few minutes. But no, the plan is for the presentation and the discussion really to take place next month. And part of the challenge was that it was not the plan of FCDOT staff to put their own brief together. They're going to sort of react to Rachel's. And so when Rachel was not able to be there, now they didn't even have anything to present. Otherwise, that might have been a different situation there. So
I had a question, quick,
yes,
Mike.
Jeremy.
Just for the work plan, what is the we need to have a discussion on kind of where we're going with the work plan, because I think the end result is a report and will include the meeting with the board of supervisors, but maybe we should figure out what the timing is.
Well, funny you should mention that. I think yes, absolutely. I don't mean to joke about it. I'm sorry, but that's exactly the kind of thing we want to talk about a little bit. And so this actually gives us an opportunity to think more about the timing and the pacing of all these things, and when we need to have things done. So short answer is yes, Jeremy. I agree. That's exactly what we need to do. So, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. So, okay, that's where we're at right now. What I'd like to do is welcome any public and guests. I know we've Brent is here, and Calvin, of course, is always here. He has no choice. Thank you both for coming. Is there anybody else here from, I don't think so, from the public or CDOT, so I think we're just as commissioners here. If there's no guests, then I think, just to be sure, nobody dialed in or anything? No? Okay. Then, go ahead.
We need to stop Roger, and then we can hear him and he can hear us. He was late to the yeah, Roger.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I did see Roger. Roger, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So-
I'm good with it. I hear everything.
All right, thank you.
Calvin, I hear Mike. I haven't heard anybody else, but that's
Okay.
it seems
All
like
right.
it's functioning.
And I have noted that you're here now, so when you do the notes, you can note that you're here. So, okay, sounds good. Thanks, Calvin. All right. So now I think we move on to the acceptance of the previous meeting minutes. And so we've got September and August. I did have a quick look at the August meeting minutes, and one thing Linda and we'll need to add is the vote tally for the resolution. This is actually something Kevin had brought up, and there was some discussion about whether we would put the vote tally on the resolution itself, and we decided not to do that, and would instead make sure that the meeting minutes had the vote tally in it. And
Was
so
the vote
can we
tally
look at that?
unanimous?
I do not believe it was. And this was for the resolution. And I think I can't remember. I don't have the notes in front of me on the rationale, but when we passed the resolution, it was not unanimous. And I do have that. We can take that, offline.
Yeah,
and
we can follow up offline and I can add that to the meeting notes. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. So regarding the August meeting minutes, do we want to approve them and approve technical and conforming changes? Or would we like to defer the review of the meeting minutes till next month so we can include the vote tally? Pete?
I move that we accept them with the edit that we just talked about.
Second.
Okay. Motion on the table, seconded to accept the meeting minutes as presented with the ability to make technical and conforming changes. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, Commissioner Sidney, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Next is for the September meeting minutes. I didn't notice anything there. I admittedly didn't get a chance to look at them in detail. If we like, we can do what we just did with August and allow technical and conforming changes, approve them, except for changes. Is there any discussion that we'd like to talk about here on the September minutes?
Note that this is our new abbreviated format.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
If I can't get it into one page, it's not going to get it.
Well, Linda went out to 1.5, so that's not too bad.
No,
She was keeping pretty
We
brief.
need to go on this. That's okay.
So, okay, all right. Well, what I'd be pleased to do is entertain a motion to approve with the ability to make technical and conforming changes if there's a commissioner willing to make such a motion. Or make a motion that you prefer.
If no one else is going to make that motion, I'm making it.
Okay. Motion on the floor, Commissioner Sitnik, to approve the September meeting minutes with the allowance to make technical and conforming changes. Is there a second?
Second. Lee
Thank you. I
District.
hear a second. And thank you very much. There's a motion on the floor and seconded to pass the minutes, make changes. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
This
You
is Mary
know-
Pauline. I would actually
Yes.
just abstain since I was not present for that meeting.
Okay. Right, sounds good. So let me make a note here. Ouch, okay. August is September 1. Okay. All right. We now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the work plan. Actually, Jeremy, if you don't mind, I'll take advantage of you opening the dialogue with your questions there. Let's pick up where you left off and start the conversation there. Because yes, we do need to figure out when we're going to do things, how we're going to do them. I do want to talk a bit about the writing process, although obviously we're not going to write it here in the meeting. But did want to lay that out. So Jeremy, if you'd be so kind, what were your thoughts and considerations you think we should be considering as we go forward?
Well, are we, is there a date in the bylaws that we're required to provide a report? Is it just an annual report?
It is an annual report. I believe it is in the spring. And of course, I don't have the bylaws right here next to me. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Actually, I do. Photos remote meeting. Oh, darn. Okay. Calvin, do you have the bylaws handy nearby? This is an obvious question. Should have thought about this, but I think I've got them here, but I'm looking right now. Okay, bylaws, got it. Okay.
If you want me to share the screen, I have the bylaw.
Okay, sure. And I have found it here.
Oh, okay.
Meetings. Committees, records. Annual work plan report, Article 9. So Calvin, I think that's near the bottom. Commission shall submit an annual written work plan by the end of March of the year in question that describes the recommended major topics and corresponding scheduled activities to be undertaken by the Commission over the subsequent calendar year for review and approval of the Board of Supervisors. The Commission shall also prepare an annual report that describes the activities and accomplishments of Commission over the preceding calendar year by the end of the February of the succeeding year. The annual work plan and annual report shall be provided to the Clerk of the Board of Supervisors for distribution to the Board of Supervisors and the County Executive. So there's the annual work plan and the report. I would think the implication here is that we need to have a report of what we've been doing by February, and then a work plan of what we want to do come March. But let folks look at that and see if you guys agree. Mm-hmm.
So we have complete streets next month and then 2 more meetings to fit in the work plan.
Right. I mean, what I've done, and this is jumping sort of way ahead on the calendar, I have laid out a couple of the meetings. Now, admittedly, some of them are some of our awards and things like that. But what I'm considering here is we talked about reaching out to the staff, staff to the supervisors and meeting with them. And so would like to be able to talk with them beforehand. So tentatively have them meeting with them in January. And reviewing and right now reviewing a draft work plan, which may actually be more a draft work plan at our December meeting, is what I've laid out.
Say that one more time.
Reviewing a draft work plan on December 21st. And I know there's some discussion about, or some thoughts of moving the meeting, but right now our meeting would be on the 21st. And then January 18th next year would be the conversation with the Board of Supervisors, Transportation Aides, which would then give us one more meeting in February to finalize everything, put a bow on it for the report, and then the work plan, by March.
Does that mean that we want to have the staff or a staff member attend the meeting if possible?
A staff member from where?
Our supervisor's transportation person, whoever that is.
That would be the idea. We did that once a year ago, year and a half.
It was longer than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just would like to know, because we probably ought to, at least in my case, ought to invite them in November for a January meeting. Make sure they're available. Somebody's available.
Yes, that's one of the reasons we're
Okay.
laying things out this far in advance. You're right, Roger.
So it sounds like November will be the last really substantive meeting that would go in towards the annual report. So after that November meeting, then we could probably start that process, right?
I believe so. And as I was looking at the sort of the work plan outline that I had prepared before, and of course, where did it go? Here it is. We've got I opened everything at once instead of, there we go. When we're talking at the last meeting, focusing on the one piece we really hadn't talked about much was complete streets and that whole area. We have done a little, we have some discussion, have had some conversation about transportation demand management. We're going to have a conversation about complete streets and sort of the making place as well. A little bit of curbside stuff too. You know, trails, sidewalks, bikeways, active Fairfax. We've been very engaged there. Strategies and policies, Jeremy, we had that conversation about connecting to the county strategic plan. And those are sort of the I think the big moving pieces. Now, when we talked, we didn't quite get to this at the last meeting, which is, and that was sort of the implementation strategy. So when you look at the, and I did not send it out again, but this is the one that I'd sent out on September 20th of the, you know, the work plan paper. At the bottom of the implementation strategy, we've got targeting activity centers, pedestrian bike safety, adapting TDM strategies, legacy investments and tools. This is not in a form yet to tell our story, but the idea is, I think, to describe what the pieces are that we're looking at and how we intend to try and bring those pieces together, or where we want to focus on based upon this entire menu. So I think part of the report is, you know, this is what we've looked at, and the work plan is with having looked at those things. Here's what we've done so far. Here's what we want to do this next year, and obviously, Active Fairfax, for example, is one of them. The safety activities that we're talking about doing.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let me just to clarify, the meeting in January is the invitation from the Board of Supervisors to present. That's not our meeting.
No, the January, right now, we're thinking about is January 18th would be our meeting to invite the transportation aides to come meet with us,
Oh.
where we talk to them about where we are with our report and our work plan.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then we would have, you know, reviewed a draft work plan and maybe an outline form. We'll talk about the writing piece here. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of it, and I'm happy to do it, but we also do need some other pens and pencils. Thank you, Calvin. Appreciate it.
And then at the so at the February meeting is when do we have to vote to approve our report?
Yes, I think we should. I mean, it's, I guess, theoretically possible to do by acclamation, but I think it's important enough. We'd want to, I think we'd want to pass it. Now, what they also say, though, is that the report is due, you know, let's see, they say the commission shall prepare and also prepare an annual report that describes the actions and accomplishments of commission over the preceding calendar year by the end of February of the succeeding year. So I think by February, we need to write our report. But by March, by the end of March, is when we have to submit our work plan. So we have another month to do the work plan.
Yeah, I think in some ways the work plan is going to be the more challenging piece of it, planning out a full year.
Yeah. Now, one, we're just getting started. So, you know, I know there's going to be some allowances of both among ourselves. We'll do the best we can. but also among the Board of Supervisors, that this is the first time we've done this. I don't know how other commissioners are doing. I'm sure some are, like the Planning Commission probably seems to do this kind of stuff. They just roll out of bed and write reports. That's not us. And so what I'm envisioning is not a huge amount of detail in the work plan. What I think we want to do is talk about the areas we want to focus on, and some of the directions we think we want to head. We don't want to prejudge an outcome. I mean, for instance, I think we, and I'll use the active Fairfax as an example. Talk about the fact we're going to focus on safety and things like that, but not say we believe that it's unsafe or needs to be more safe. I mean, of course, you're trying to make it appropriately safe, but to describe some of the moving pieces there. So some of the stuff here I've got on the it's a work plan outline. I think we can use it to sort of frame up the discussion. Here's what we've seen. Here's what it appears to us to be how the environment looks in each of these areas we're going to be talking about. And so that's the area in which we're operating. Board of Supervisors, do you like the areas we're proposing to operate? And are there things you'd like to add, adjust, change, whatever, in the some of the things we're looking at in terms of what we see some of the big moving pieces being? Now, in terms of a goal, that'll be tough. It's not, we can say, oh, pass a resolution. Okay, we can pass a resolution. We just make something up and pass it. I think it's going to be hard for us to say we want to see some progress there. But maybe that's something we look at as part of the work plan, is looking at metrics or progress measures or something like that. I don't think we can do that right away unless somebody has some great ideas and maybe they occur to us as we go along. But I think that might be something to talk about. Okay.
Mike, how do you want to handle this? Do you want to create a committee to work on the report and bring it to the TAC?
Excellent question. What I'd like to do is, and I'm thinking out loud here, but had conversations with individuals, and we do have some nice alignment now between commissioners, focus areas, work plan discussion areas. So what I'm hoping is, and this I know won't come as a surprise, for instance, in the active Fairfax, Kelly and Alexis would hope you could really help carry the water for us there, at least just sort of framing things up about how things are looking. With the complete streets and things like that. Pete, Roger, working on the sort of the parking and the other pieces there. Reaching out to county staff as necessary. I've been looking at some of the TDM stuff there, and there's actually like a TDM conference that the Tyson's Partnership is sponsoring here within about a month or so. So the timing is good. So they're starting to look at, so what's TDM look like? Transportation demand management, telework and things like that. What's it look like now, a year, 2+ years into the pandemic? Jeremy, as we talked briefly about, it'd be fantastic if you could sort of help weave this into some of the strategic plan piece there. So, that may maybe argue that you and I might need to work a little more closely, because I think that one of the things we want to do is sort of key off the strategic plan without ignoring, the other pieces there. And Kelly and Alexis, one of the assumptions I've sort of got here that seems to be emerging is that within the comprehensive plan, it really appears they sort of delegated the biking and trails and stuff like that to the active Fairfax plan. I think I sort of been getting that impression. Do you guys agree that appears to be what's happening from what you've seen, or not? Just wondering what you think. Just a sec, Roger.
The county has explicitly said that they're combining the bike trail, the trails and bike master plan with, other transportation plans that they had separate. So they're bringing them together. Yes.
Okay.
So that's our intent.
I
It's going to
have
be
no
all
idea
under the
what you're
umbrella of active Fairfax.
Okay.
This is Kelly. I have no idea what you're asking us to do. From my memory, now I will admit my memory is faulty, But from my memory for this last year, we've done a whole lot of listening to other people talk and haven't really done a lot of doing anything. So to say that we have a report of what we've done or to create a work plan of what we're going to do, if it's more of the same, you know, we've been pretty passive. And whether that's the role, I mean, I feel like I keep having the same conversation with you all, the existential question of why do we meet? Why do we take this time out of everybody's schedule to listen to other people talk who are already talking to the Board of Supervisors, or, you know, like the FCDOT people with active transportation. It was great to have that presentation, but I feel like as a commissioner and as a citizen, I have zero impact on how it's going to change anything. So I'm, you know, here I am a year later going, why are we doing this? Why am I doing this?
Well, there's always that existential questions, absolutely. But I will say though, I mean, I thought I heard you say last meeting that you see, and I could be wrong, you know, but that the active Fairfax plan is starting to have some of our fingerprints on it. Some of the language we've given them, some of the ideas we brought to them is starting to get embedded. I think that there is absolutely a role for listening. How can you act if you don't know what the hell is going on? And we've been doing that this past year. In each of these focus areas, we've had meetings about each of them. We've done a lot of listening. We've asked questions. We've tried to identify commissioners that are more deeply engaged than others to help us decide, so what is next? I think we all want to take action. We're not sure exactly what that is. You and Jeremy have both talked about it. We all have. But what I think we're trying to do is figure out, so now that we've learned some things, and now that we see what's going on and see what the county is doing, and it's okay if we end up saying, you know what, we think the county, the FC Active Fairfax plan is perfect. You know, if that's what we believe, then we've given them validation, and it's independent assessment. We don't have to say that if we don't want to, but if we believe it, we absolutely should. And I know we're not going to say, because the quality of the work of FCDOT is such that we're not going to say they're out in left field. They don't know what they're doing. We need to, you know, yank them back and do this or that. I've never seen anything like that around here. They're always sort of in the ballpark. And so you can make the argument, well, gosh, if they're always in the ballpark, how much are we needed? But we are a citizens advisor group, and I think part of it is a little bit of priorities. So to have some validation that yes, perhaps the active Fairfax plan is going in the right direction. That we like the complete streets effort. I'm going to jump way ahead. We haven't even talked to them yet. Or what is it about the complete streets we think they ought to do more of? Rachel will have some views. I know we'll get a chance to, you know, to hear those as well. And we as a commission will decide what we think and try and provide some, you know, some input there to sort of provide another perspective for the board. But I think we should always ask ourselves whether we're just parroting what others say, and if as we go through this next year, we can't find any way to sort of distinguish ourselves or have any input, then yeah, I think we can close it up. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's value in having an outside observer even say things are pretty much okay, if that's what we believe. But where we might differ, where we might be able to actually add value, is the actions. How quickly, how expeditiously is FCDOT planning to move? We could say, love the plan. Can we do it faster? Those are the sort of things we can talk about as well. If we believe that.
Okay.
That help? I don't know.
No, I just feel like it's the same swirling around every single time. Something I am absolutely passionate about is if we are going to be a bicycle friendly community, to have complete streets and active transportation. And if we really believe that, then we need to have some vehicle for education, for drivers, for cyclists, for pedestrians. Everybody needs to understand what the rules are. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know I was going to try to present something earlier and it just didn't work out with my travel, but but the bottom line is that when I say to FCDOT, I think this is your province. Nobody wants to own it at the county level. And that's an issue that I'm passionate around. Okay. So there may be other issues that other commissioners are passionate, and we're still getting these big overarching, this is our dream plan that's going to eventually go into the comprehensive plan, that's going to eventually make us, you know, the happiest county in the world. And you know, I'm kind of, I guess I'm weary of having the same conversation once a month. And so, and I'm questioning whether that means that I'm not the right person to be on this commission for my district. Maybe somebody else has a better temperament for being that person. Because I am more of an action, I'm more of a do person. I am not a let's do the bureaucratic shuffle for months and months kind of person. And I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but it's just not me. And so I'm, you know, I'm actually having coffee with Shamli on Friday morning. And this is one of my things I want to talk with her about is like, yeah, I think Walter needs somebody else because I don't think this is me.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the passion you're just talking about here is exactly what we need.
But it doesn't
Because-
go anywhere, Mike. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make any difference. And
Well, what-
honestly, I can go out and spend a whole lot of my time and, you know, the comparable time actually teaching people to get on bikes and be safe on the
Okay.
road. And
Okay.
that's a much better use of my time and talent.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a good use of time and talent, because it obviously would be. But what the TAC can do is make public and visible, not just Kelly Westonhouse's view, and I'm not going to prejudge the outcome of a TAC discussion and deliberation. The TAC may decide to do X or Y. We try and be supportive of each other, but we also have to be sure that we're looking at each of our magisterial district. That's the value of the TAC, is we balance all these things. So when the TAC takes a position on something, it should mean something. It means that this has been balanced by passionate people, and we're all passionate people in the stuff we're doing here in this particular area. So when you're talking about education and safety, it is easy for us to say, you know, education needs to be a priority, you know, and so what's it going to take to do that? And I would throw it back, but we want to work with you on and work with FCDOT to say, so what does the education plan look like? Who should be doing the teaching? How long should the course be? Who should go? Where should they go? Where's there going to be requirements to go there before you can get a bike license or whatever the case may be? I think those are some of the implementation questions. And somebody who knows as much about it as you do, and as other commissioners know about in their area, can help give us a roadmap that says these are the specific steps the board of supervisors should take to make sure we have better bike education. That's absolutely something that we can look at. And I think it's also appropriate that particularly those first things come from the passions of the commissioners. You're here for a reason. You've watched this for a reason. You know, this is not your life's work, I know, but you know, of all the things you're working on, this is something that comes, you know, that comes out. So you know what? That means something. And so
I think I agree with Kelly on a lot of this. I would like us to see take more action and bolder action on a lot of these issues. Perhaps one of the things that we could do, and maybe we're getting a little too much in the work plan, but we tend to hear a lot of presentations and not a lot of opportunity to discuss among us about what we're going to do about it. And so maybe that is the opportunity, is to carve out some time within these meetings to talk about and so what's the next step? What does the TAC want to do with that information?
Okay. Good point. It's kind of what we're doing now.
Mr. Chairman, we
Yes,
might
yes,
have
go ahead.
a guest from the pub.
Sorry?
Somebody named Zach. Let me unmute him. I'm not sure who that is. Hello, can you hear me? If you look at the list of the attendee, there's somebody named Zach.
Yes.
Yes.
Explain.
Hi, I am from the Boy Scout troop of 695.
Ah.
I just wanted to attend this meeting to know more about transportation.
Okay, let me bring you to the panel list and make it easy for us to have a conversation. There we go.
Well, Zach, appreciate very much you participating. We will have a time and a little bit later in the agenda for public comments. So be thinking of something you'd like to tell us, and we look forward to hearing your comments. In fact, we might be able to move that comment period up a little bit, so you don't have to stay through the meeting any more than you need to. But of course, you're welcome to stay as long as you can, as long as you're you know, allowed to stay out. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Welcome. Jeremy, please, if we could. I mean, yes, I like the idea of talking to each other, and really, I agree. We need specific steps. So let's lay out some specific steps, the things we're going to do. I mean, we put the plan there because I think we need to take it to the board. And those kinds of specific steps we need, those are things we perhaps, as you say, put in our work plan. These are things we want to do. It's okay to have goals too. We can talk about it with the board if we decide that's what we want to do.
So back to the work plan for a second. Yes. So the work plan is a reflection of the activity for the last, I guess it's not a full 12 months. Why wouldn't we just start with the minutes and just talk about the activity of each of those sections? I mean, rather than bringing all of that together. And I mean, it seems like we should just start with what we did.
The report, absolutely. I'm smiling about the minutes because we know how challenging it's been putting the minutes together, particularly having the kind of details in the minutes that we could then, put into a report. Some minutes will have more information, others will have less so. And with our streamlined minutes concept now, there's not going to be much to work from in terms of specifically what we've what we discussed. However, we absolutely have the agendas, and so we can absolutely include the agendas. We can talk about what we talked about. Make the point that we've talked. Yes, we've absolutely talked, but I argue that's homework. That's preparation. We are talking to each other. We're talking to county staff. We've met with some other folks as well. Won't pretend it's anywhere close to looking as widely as ultimately we'll need to, but it is something. And from that, we've come up with a work plan. We've got some focus areas. We have commissioners that care passionately about specific areas. And I think our proposal in the work plan for the Board of Supervisors is we want to focus in on these areas we've identified. And it's absolutely appropriate. In fact, I'd argue it's necessary to say we want to be able to try and take, thoughtful, informed, but aggressive action in each of these areas to try and advance county goals as best we can. And Kelly, please give us words. Jeremy, give us words. What would it take to satisfy you? And I say it that way because we want to be able to capture it. And clearly, everybody has a slightly different view. We all use the words we want, the words we're comfortable with as we go forward. I believe that we're talking about the same thing here, but these are my words. These are not your words. And my words don't always resonate with others, of course, and that's fine. So what words would you use? What words should you give to the Board of Supervisors? If maybe when you talk to Shamali, what would you take some of that and say, I'd like to put that in the work plan because damn it, that's what I want to do. That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay. But we've talked many times about the need for participation, and the participation of the members of the TAC has been extraordinary. I'm not going to say anything bad about previous versions of the TAC because each of them were doing what they needed to do at that time because of what was going on. But it's not just coincidental that we have new TAC members, all of whom to varying degrees want to do more things. And so, this is part of that, part of that evolution. But there are things that we're going to have to step up and do. And yes, I can't write everything. But it's not appropriate for me to even try to write everything because then it's me spouting things, and it really has to be we, the commission and the commissioners that want to do something. And so this is a measure as well. And the answer can always be, I can't. I no longer want to participate for whatever reason. We, of course, regret that, but it is always an individual commissioner's prerogative to do that at any time. But hopefully by sharing the load a little bit, focusing on these areas, and Kelly, I'll use, the active Fairfax again as an example, those things that, you've always wanted to do, convince a majority of commissioners that that's the right way to do. We pass a resolution in support of that sort of thing. Now the TAC has said, this is what we want to do. Now it's not just Kelly. And that means something. That means something. And I think the more we do, the more chances it's going to mean a lot. Because if we're thoughtful about this and we are focused on certain things and have done our homework, then I think one, we're more likely, of course, to have better recommendations, but also it's just the fact we have thought about it. And it's not just coming in half baked and, oh, we just sort of like threw this resolution together. We don't do that. We think about stuff. And I think that's to our credit. Okay. I hadn't allocated a lot of time for this. And I know I hesitate to have open discussions because my fear is that they'll say, well, it's just an open discussion. We're not doing anything. And I share that too. And I was reluctant to do, a little disappointed we had to do it this time. But, actually, Jeremy, given your point about talking more, and I don't want to just keep beating on this, that we keep coming back to the work plan. But we do need to talk about this kind of stuff. We do need to capture things because when any of us write something, we want to have something that we have a pretty good sense the rest of the commission is going to support, or to be aware of where the problem's going to be, so we can think about that kind of stuff. So this is absolutely helping me, and I've been very, very mindful of the need for action. Everybody's made that very clear to one degree or another, and so I definitely want to incorporate that. We will incorporate that in our plan, and there's a limit, I guess, how action-oriented could be when you're a government entity writing reports and stuff like that and giving briefings. Got it, but the passion is there, and the follow-up is what's going to do it as well. Following up with CDOT, anybody else we need to work with, not letting this thing languish. We don't just pass a resolution and say, "Ooh, we're done with that," and never go back to it. We loop back. We say, "So how's that resolution thing going?" We can incorporate that as well too. Maybe every 6 months or whatever you think is appropriate, based upon what commissioners in the subject areas recommend. We'll bring folks back in again, have a follow-on conversation.
So, Mike, this is Eric.
Yes, yes, Eric.
One thing I would like to say on this topic is that in the past, and it's now becoming fairly significant past, we had a much more direct impact because we essentially were in the process of helping to allocate funds. We had not only our own funds, but we sort of helped the county prioritize funding. And as the funding got squeezed over time, that process has sort of evaporated. And so, as an advisory organization, that sort of was one of the things we did in the past. And I somewhat share some level of frustration because that's gone away.
Yeah. I actually, that was so far, it even predates my time on the TAC. And I've been starting to be here it's been a while now. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was there was money to allocate then. There was a pot of money and the county needed to look at the projects. Yes, there is money in the county budget, but certainly not the large amount of money there was for those projects back 10 years ago. So yeah, I've bemoaned that as well too. But ultimately, even if we're talking about smaller projects, and we took a stand just the other month about the act of Fairfax and urging the Board of Supervisors to allocate $450,000 to go to phase 3. Not a huge amount, but it's actually getting involved in the budget process and making our views known. Now, yes, it's not as directly involved as recommending which projects to do, but as you've acknowledged, that's not where we're at right now. And also, road projects are road projects, and there's discrete and dollar value. You see where they're at. The county really these past number of years has really been looked in other modes of transportation. So balancing the roads with other things and stuff like that. We've been talking about that. So yeah, things have changed a little bit, but I still think we can have some value there in terms of how we approach things.
Mike, it's Alexis.
Yes, Alexis.
I think it's interesting that Eric brought up the history. Thanks for that, because I was just thinking, I feel in some ways how Kelly expressed how I'm not really sure where our place is and what change we're supposed to affect here. And I've been thinking, I feel like the last year that we've really just been on the public meeting circuit for the county, that we're just a stop on their circuit to get a box checked.
Yeah.
And I think if this commission is going to be effective and meaningful for the members who serve on it, that I think that the county needs to have our role in these processes be earlier than the public process, if that's what our advisory role is. I'll give an example. In Lee District, we're in the design process of a very significant project for a new government center. It has a huge impact on the community where it's going to be. It's going to impact the community for generations, and transportation is obviously a component of that.
Yeah.
And the county I hired a contractor to do a study to study the transportation impacts on it. And they didn't study any of the impacts other than the driving impacts to the community around there. And that's an example of where, if maybe the TAC was involved in that process sooner, folks like us could say, here's a blind spot. You all need to have this contractor make sure that they're doing a holistic look at the community and not just the loudest, most popular use of transportation in the area. So that's where I think if the county can shift their perception or carve out a way that we can be involved in some of these processes earlier, where maybe it's not a binding thing, obviously, but where they're seeking our input on how they do things before it's going out to the wide public, because they're really coming to us like at the 11th hour before they're taking it public. And at that point, it's really hard to make a difference in how the county is addressing transportation.
Okay. Good point. Good point. And, even our active Fairfax involvement, yes, they're fairly late in the process. But that is something that the Tom brought to us and asked for us to, spend some time on. I would actually suggest perhaps that maybe the Complete Streets activity is the kind of thing where we're more in the early stage than we have historically been. I think it's possible for us to make that as a recommendation of the work plan, maybe a lessons learned out of the report. I'm not sure necessarily where that would go, but it absolutely makes sense to suggest to the county, the Board of Supervisors, that we include more earlier. But I think one of the things we need to do before we do that is we need to sort of prove ourselves a little bit. One is sort of just that we're paying attention. I just use that phrase loosely, that we're watching what's going on and we don't have to be educated from ground zero. But also that we can stick to it, because these are real issues for which full-time staff spend a lot of time on. We're not full-time. We're never going to try to be. But there's an obligation on our parts to keep up. And that's where dividing the workload amongst the commissioners helps, because not every commissioner has to be up to speed on everything. A few select commissioners are more up to speed on certain pieces there. Like Active Fairfax, Complete Streets, things like that. We have been getting a lot of conversations, yes. And I think that one of the differences is that, we rarely pass resolutions. We rarely sort of stuck with the topic. We would come back every now and again, but really we get a briefing, there'd be some comments, and then that'd be the last we see of it for some time. Now, I will admit, maybe that looks a little bit like what we're doing now, but we've been talking about engaging again and getting more deeply involved. And I keep coming back to things like Active Fairfax, because that's one of our focus areas. We aren't doing this everywhere. We're doing it in areas where we know it's important. And I say we know, I think we do know. The board will validate as we go to them and say, we spent a lot of time on Active Fairfax. I know they're not going to say, why, but where we are going to potentially want their support is if we say, we think we need to spend more. And here's some of the things we want to look at here. Here's some of the implementation priorities we've got. And we can throw things out as examples if we want. That says we want to make sure, I'll just say generally, it's done right. you know, and so the board knows that we're engaged. And so then what the board will do potentially, and we can ask them to do this, although active Fairfax is not necessarily the worst problem, because, you know, FCDOT, when you're doing active Fairfax, make sure you talk to the Tack. Well, they are, you know, and I think we're getting further and further ahead. We know exactly what they're doing with the phase 3, because we've been part of their efforts in phase 2. So we now know who they are, what they're doing. We can keep looking over their shoulder politely, respectfully, but we are caught up to them now, I think. And that's where we want to be. It took us a little while to do it, but we're there. Now can we take advantage of that? Pete, were you going to say something, or?
Yep,
Okay.
I am. Like everybody, I'd like for us to do more. Frankly, it means all of us doing more. Act away from just the meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, to do more, that's what it's going to take. But at the same time, what I've seen, I've only been on the Tack, I guess, just over 2 years now. I've seen it make some differences. You have already mentioned them. We are maybe not ahead of the curve, but we're on the curve with active Fairfax. But definitely on the curve, the complete streets, and just because they've sat down with us and listened to us and incorporated a lot of our ideas into what they're doing. So to me, that's making a difference. Maybe not huge, it's more glacial, but you're making a difference. But I know that in Mount Vernon District, what the Tack did and others did when everybody stood up and said, "Oh, wait a minute about 13 lanes on Richmond Highway," that was a huge difference. And if I've done nothing else in my Tack career, that one thing has justified my time. I don't know where it'll end because it's still back in study. But without all of us leading into these things, a lot of them would be already run over us. So I think we're doing good stuff. Maybe we need to do more, but frankly, we need to step up more, including myself.
Pete, I think that's a perfect example of the kinds of things that we have done and should be doing. And it's based on kind of an underlying principle that we want to somehow move away from a car-centric county. They don't do that by pouring more lanes of concrete. And that puts you right up against VDOT. As you pointed out, their purpose in life is to pour concrete. And if we're going to do that, that night we had, it wasn't heated, but it was a brisk conversation between you and Tom, and we did pass a resolution. It was a little watery, but we passed something, and I'm glad we passed something. We made a statement, and we probably should make more statements like that. And that's fine. Now, I know Kelly wants to turn Fairfax County into Amsterdam West. I don't think she's going to do that, but we have more and more bike lanes. We could figure out a way to get people to use them.
Actually, I don't want to turn us into Amsterdam. We're not Amsterdam.
We're not. We
But
might be better off if we were, but
no, because but we can do better and
Yeah.
be much more specific and include more people in the conversation than we
Yeah.
currently do. And that's my whole purpose. I mean, you know, they come to us and they say, here's the active transportation plan. And yes, we will add education. And now it's, you know, another one of the bullets. I just want more specifics. And, you know, I mean, this is really healthy for me to hear that I'm not the only one going, why are we staring at our belly buttons and listening to presentations? But I think we're all kind of in that same mode of, you know, what exactly is the purpose of this commission in relation to what the supervisors need on behalf of the citizens? Because frankly, most of the people in my magisterial district are never going to attend a meeting and say, I do like this bike lane or I don't like that bike lane. So I kind of feel that as that representative person, it's my job to say to the broader Board of Supervisors, as a county, we can do better. and we can do it across the board, that it benefits lots more people and lots of different kinds of people. So, you know, I agree. It's good to listen. It's good to talk. Sometimes I think we spend too much time talking, but that might be me.
Maybe.
Sometimes we have our meetings go till 11 o'clock, and that's way too much talking.
Not quite that late, but yeah, they go too long.
Yeah. So anyway, so thank you for indulging me in my little temper tantrum. I think I'm okay now.
Okay.
But I do understand too that perhaps I have underestimated my responsibility to just put things forward and see if they stick to the wall. I was waiting for some, you know, Mike, you're former military. I was waiting for some, you know, checklist or something that I was supposed to jump through certain hoops in a certain way, and that it was going to turn into a product.
Okay.
And there isn't such a thing. Instead, there's this like
Yeah.
work plans and then reports. And I'm like, well, how can we have a report if we haven't done anything? And, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm just used to a very different way of doing things.
I
So
understand.
Having been on this tack for many, many years, I think the mindset on this particular group of people is different than I've ever seen it before, and certainly different than it was in the early days. So we may be on the edge of a breakthrough in changing the way we do things. And Kelly called it a temper tantrum. I just call it passionate advocacy. And we may have more people doing that. And I think you may begin to see a different kind of synergism come out of this group when you do that. But, you know, we've just taken the lid off right now. Let's see what happens the next few months with this.
Yeah. Good point, Roger. And
I've got some things bubbling up, and you're going to get it.
uh-oh.
And the thing is, I think Mike knows exactly what I'm going to talk about. That's
Well,
all.
just make sure you're polite and watch your language, no swearing and all this kind of stuff. But okay,
No hand
you
waving,
know,
but
okay,
you know, an advocacy for
yeah.
certain things that
Well, if
I
I
think
could,
a lot of us are kind of agree to.
well, appreciate that. And if I could, Kelly, I do understand what you mean about sort of a checklist kind of thing. You know, and I've acknowledged from the beginning that we're a commission of equals. Yes, I'm the chair, but we're all commissioners. We all are here at the pleasure of our supervisors. We're not here to take orders from a chair or a vice chair, anything like that. So it's impossible to sort of put together that kind of a plan. But we are trying to do it sort of collectively and collegially, where we say, yes, you know, I agree to do these pieces. And this is ultimately political to a degree. I mean, we advise a political board. You know, some of us have run for office. Others may have thought about it. Some may in the future. Who knows? But we are here, you know, in that public realm, and so navigating that is a challenge. But you know, I'm going to agree with Roger when he says we, you know, hopefully we're about ready to break through. I think by spending this time to get ready, we can now have informed, sustained, and pointed dialogues with folks about things that we care passionately about, and the TAC can work that together. We pass a resolution, let's say, you know, regarding something on the Act of Fairfax. Guess who's the commissioner or commissioners is going to look over FCDOT to make sure it's done right? Kelly and Alexis. Just saying. You know, now you could waive the resolution, not that you have to. And that's part of those next steps, making sure that we've got the respectful accountability.
Well, we've had people come out of this group that have gone on, and one of them is Bob Barker, who was a state senator, and he has been for, at least 10 years. And Janice Iditami, if I pronounce her name correctly, was also very prominent in the county on a number of things, despite her untimely death. She was she was a kind of a, I think Kelly would have appreciated her, but you do get some visibility eventually.
Yeah. Well, and it's an opportunity to contribute. And yes, if we can't find a way to make a difference, then yeah, I'm sure we're going to lose people at that point. But if we don't, it's not going to be for lack of trying. I do believe, and of course I'm saying this, but I hear it and I see it with the other commissioners, and Kelly, Jeremy, yes, but Roger too, talking about it, where I do believe the resolve is there on our part. I'll also say, Kelly, and you mentioned it, so I'll use you temporarily as an example, but it applies to everybody, putting things down on paper. It's not just that simple, but that's a big part of it. What are those things? Maybe it ends up in a resolution, maybe it ends up in a report, maybe in a work plan, maybe it helps you articulate, well, because when you try and write stuff down, it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what I want. What do you want? It helps us focus in on what we really want to do. And ultimately, for both these documents, they have to be written. So I would encourage commissioners to put things in writing, bullets, a half paragraph. Think about, your sections, the sections you care about, other sections of the work plan. What should we be saying? I've tried to have an outline there so that folks can sort of hang things where they go and have a sense where some things are. But we've acknowledged that's not that's a work in progress as well too. So help us shape it. Help us shape it. And that's where each commissioner has to be able to contribute as much as they can, as much as they feel to, whatever that is. And we'll try and maximize those contributions and pull them together and speak and work as a Tack. Pete, I see your camera's on again. You want to? No? Okay. We actually have gone a little bit beyond this part on the agenda. I'm happy to keep the conversation going a little bit if need be, but we don't need to. This helps me, and Kelly, I really appreciate you saying it helped you. I hope it helps others. But please feel free to contact one other commissioner and talk about this and see what you think. And help sort of figure out what it is you think we want to do here. Looking in the chat, which, okay, there we go. We're not supposed to use the chat, but we can for administrative stuff. So I just saw the note there. Okay. Really, that's what I wanted to talk about. And we're ending up on the writing stuff is good, because that's really where the rubber hits the road. Is at some point we got to put words on paper. So we'll need help with that. It'd be wrong of me to try and do it all. I will do a lot. I'll do as much as I can, given all the constraints, and I will, pledge to commissioners to have a framework to try and provide the energy to do everything I can to provide the energy to help move this forward. Let's work together as best we can, which is what we're doing. And so I appreciate folks' willingness to do that and put up with this. Okay. The next item on the agenda, let's see, here we go, is the Transportation Achievement Award. What I'd like to do is have this conversation, and then before we go into the events planning, then we'll bump up the public comment period. So our young friend Zach can speak then, but right now, just wanted to talk about the Transportation Achievement Award. I know Kevin was going to be on the committee. Roger, thank you for agreeing to chair that. And so just wanted to talk briefly. I've got 15 minutes here, but I'm not sure it even takes that long, about how he, in fact, I remember now there's one question. Calvin, I believe we had put together and updated the criteria there. Was that sent out? Have we received anything yet?
Yes, it's been sent out. I have one inquiry about the award, but so far we haven't received anything in writing yet.
Okay, so that's a constant challenge. We often don't get many inputs. So let's see.
Mike, if individual commissioners have nominations, what's that? If we have recommendations, what's that process?
Recommended to the committee. And I think that's kind of the place I was going next, is we have seen a number of briefings over this past year, and many were very good. And so I think that's an excellent idea. If there's a commissioner from a briefing we've gotten, or just somebody we know that is a worthy recipient, absolutely. In fact, in some respects, that's the best place, is from commissioners who've seen things.
And you can send it to me, and I can forward it to the subcommittee. Just remember that you probably would need to write it up a little bit in detail, because most of the time the commissioner who on the subcommittee doesn't know, I mean, then don't know who that is. So we need to do a little bit, you know, more of the explanation why he or she, or, you know, or the team or whoever deserve to be, you know, the winner. So we
Right.
need to elaborate a little bit more here.
And we
Say,
do
oh,
have
I
the
nominate
template.
XYZ.
Sorry, Calvin.
Just
Pete, go ahead, sir.
Is there a format, is all
Yes.
been developed?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
We have
because-
the template.
But I'd like, can you share the template with,
Calvin?
I know I'd like to have it because there's been some really good work on, especially what we call the North Gateway, on Richmond Highway. Problem there for maybe 15 years, and a dedicated crew worked on it and finally got it resolved.
That's exactly the kind of thing we look for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what you can do with Jeremy and Pete is you could, if you feel strong that somebody should stand for this award, very often you can find somebody, a supervisor, somebody in their organization who says, no, we've got this award. Why don't you put that person up for it? We think they got a good chance. And it's kind of a little like insider trading because we know the kinds of things we're looking for. And Joe or Jane have done that. So they might consider doing that if you would give them a nudge. And having served on this committee in the past, we sit down and we look at these things. We're looking for kind of specific accomplishments that we can point to, not, you know, oh, did a great job with, you know, he's an outstanding person, you know, all this. That's nice, but that's not something you can hang your coat on. And so that's what we're kind of looking for. And the template was designed, several years ago to do just that. So in your case, Pete, if you got somebody at the North Gate that you think has done good work, you might be able to find somebody who's willing to sponsor it. I mean, you could do it yourself, but you might get a better, you know, whoever it is.
Actually, I was going to ask that because not just to Roger, but in general here, and Calvin, I can't remember. I'm sure there's been instances, I would guess, where commissioner himself has nominated somebody. I think that's perfectly appropriate for commissioner to
There's no
nominate
reason why
somebody.
you can't.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't. But
And we
then,
do have the
Yes,
template.
we have that in the past that the commissioner had nominated some, you know, someone that they know, but unfortunately they did not, you know, do a good job on the write-up, so we have no idea.
We're back to writing again. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody's got to write.
Would you like me to send out that form to the commissioner again?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, I will.
Thank
That'd be
you.
great. In my particular case, it wouldn't be one person, it'd be a team. I don't know.
We gave it to a team this past year.
Yep.
So the
done
precedence
that
has been,
before.
yeah.
But building on Roger's idea, if it makes sense to ask the supervisor to step up and do it, then I have no problem talking to Dan and saying, please do so. So,
Well, I
Yeah,
hate to,
you're kind of
Go
giving
ahead,
him a lead, Pete, because
yeah.
hey, look, I'm on this, we do this, this is what it looks, and I think your team is a good candidate. Put them up for it.
We could even do some ghostwriting, particularly if a commissioner believes a team is particularly worthy. Talk to your supervisor. Maybe they'd want to submit it to the TAC, you know, with some help there, and then we can say that they're nominated. The win area is nominated by Supervisor X or Y. Kelly.
I just want to ask Pete, have you ever considered nominating the team that puts together and runs the Tour de Mount Vernon? I think this is their 6th year, and it really shows off the really great parts of the bike infrastructure and the parts that need improvement. And because Tour de Mount Vernon is so good, we started Tour de Hunter Mill last year. And the goal of some of the, well, it's actually become kind of a bragging rights thing where the supervisors are sort of saying, well, how come you don't have a tour in your district? So the goal is eventually to have one in each district that shows off where it works and where it doesn't work, which again is part of the entire county coming together to make this a place where everybody has a space to move. But anyway, Pete, if you're short of nominees, most of the people that have been involved with Tour de Mount Vernon are volunteers.
Yes, yes.
So, and I will be marshaling for them on Saturday. So everybody who isn't marshaling should get their tickets and come out and ride.
Just saying.
There is a
I'll
short
see you
route.
there, Kelly.
Good.
Kelly, I hear you, and it sounds like I may have to suggest 2 nominations and see which one wins. So
That sounds
Can be
wonderful.
done.
thank you,
Can be
Kelly.
done. Fantastic, fantastic. And an example, a good example of our cooperation and communication here. We've got 2 good nominees, potential nominees. Many years we struggle to get even 1 or 2, and so this is a sign of progress. It absolutely is. So I appreciate this.
It's Kelly's fault.
We're going to give Kelly the credit because by giving her the credit, hopefully she'll get guilty and want to stay with us and not turn away and run away from us, recoiling in horror from having to hang out with us every darn month.
There you go.
You know, to quote the immortal Monty Python, run away, run away.
Oh yes, Monty Python.
Yes.
Bring out your dead.
Oh,
Good thing
God.
we don't have detailed notes that, but it is on the recording.
Not for me. You're not going to get detailed notes.
Exactly. No question about that. No question about that. Well, please, commissioners, if you have things, Roger, when do you think you'd like to, maybe sometime in November? I think we were talking about
Yes.
we figured it out last time, and I didn't get a chance to look at the notes there, but it was like early November. I think we asked for the nominations back, didn't we?
I think it's right. I think it was this November the 9th.
I
Unless we
think so,
changed
yeah.
that. Something around there.
Okay.
If we could get them by then, and then Calvin could circulate them to us, we'll throw them up in the air and see which ones stick to the feeling and
Okay.
go from there.
Well, maybe there'll be 2 more than there would have been 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Let's hope so then.
Okay, Pete's going to make our job tough, but that's all right.
It's
He's
okay.
So.
We are tough. We can handle it. So, okay. Fantastic. That's 2021. A plan is before. And any commissioner that has knows of somebody, let's make Roger and team's job even more difficult. Let's make it excruciatingly hard for them.
Yes,
Right.
we'd have 20 nominations and we could spend a whole weekend on it.
There you go. Exactly. Racking and stacking with spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. Okay. What I'd like to do, unless there's any other comments about the TAC award, what I'd like to do is sort of chairman's prerogative to adjust the schedule slightly. We were going to do the TAC events planning, and we will in just a little bit. But Mr. Gerken, thank you very much for joining us. We'd like to afford you the opportunity here to speak for a little bit. The time limit is supposed to be 2 minutes, but we're not going to time you. You're welcome to, take a little bit longer if you need to. But please tell us maybe a bit about the Boy Scout troop you're in and some of the stuff you're doing and why you're here, and ask us questions if you'd like. Are you ready, sir, to let us know what you think?
Okay,
Okay,
so
welcome.
I'm actually here for a communications merit badge. I have to attend a public meeting about any topic, and one of my comments about the bike lane was it was too thin and it would be too scary to ride in the bike lanes. So my suggestion is to make the bike lanes wider so bikers can actually use them safely.
May I ask Mr. Gerken a question?
Of course you may, Commissioner.
Zach, about what part of the county is your bike lane in that concerns you? Because some of the older ones are more narrow, but we certainly want to improve the ones we have. So whereabouts are you talking?
The street is Stringfellow.
Oh, yes.
He knows it.
Good. Do you ride your bike to school?
Yeah, I do, but it's through my neighborhood.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that you brought this to us, because if you can give us, Stringfellow Road is a pretty long road, but if there's kind of a specific area where you feel like the bike lane is too narrow to make you feel safe, then we can help you communicate that to the county transportation people whose job it is to make sure bike lanes are a certain width to make them safe. And sometimes they can paint extra stripes along the road too, which helps the drivers see that they need to pay a little more attention.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jeremy, did you want to say something? Okay. Well, Zach, you heard us talking about trying to make a difference, I'm sure. And you can tell that even public bodies sometimes aren't sure exactly how to do things and where they go. So when you're just getting started in your public policy career here, realize that these are hard questions. But we can follow up, and please do you reach out through the website. Calvin Lamb can pass on some information there. But yes, as Commissioner Westenhoff says, let us know what location you're concerned about, and we'd be happy to ask some questions there and get back to you. And what you can also find is it's probably not as simple as you would hope. There's if it was easy to make it wide, almost certainly the county would do so. So you sort of learn trade-offs, and other factors, and why things don't always work the way you think they might. And then you got to figure out a way to make them work the way they're supposed to. And that'll be your challenge and ours as we go forward.
That
I actually have a other comment. It's
Sure.
about my school, and people are parking where the buses need to pull out, and so the buses can't pull out, and they need to put signs up where you can't park.
That's another excellent point. What school is it, Zach?
It's Poplar Tree Elementary.
Okay. Do you happen to know who your supervisor is for your district?
For which district you're in?
Have you ever heard anybody say that you're in Providence or you're in Drainsville?
We're in Sully.
That's
You're
Sully
in Sully.
district.
Okay,
Solid.
great.
Ah,
Because there's somebody who works in your district supervisor's office that's their job, to try and look into things like this. But if it's keeping the buses from being able to pull out, if people are parking in the wrong place, that's also a Fairfax County Public Schools issue. But I don't know, Chairman Champness, how do we handle something like this? How do we forward this to make sure that Zach's concerns are addressed?
well, actually, I think you've got an excellent suggestion with going through the supervisor's office, because the supervisor is concerned both about the county activities, the transportation, and the school board. Now, the school board is different than the board of supervisors, and there can sometimes be disagreements between them about things. But something straightforward like this, the supervisor could easily pass on to the school. And so I would encourage you to contact the supervisor's office to let them know. But I will say the Transportation Advisory Commission, we really, as much as we want to try and do things, that's not something we can really do much about, because it's the school, it's individual school, and it's sort of bus lanes and stuff like that. So I would encourage you to go to the board of your supervisor.
Your supervisor's office.
And
deals
that would be
with
Kathy
those
Smith.
kinds of things. That's their job. They're the pothole, street light, fire hydrant, school bus parking politician. Their job.
Serving
And
constituents,
somebody
it's called.
Serving constituent services.
So
Yes,
Zach,
and
do you
also,
have a-
They're
and
happy
also
to hear.
for
Yes.
Zach's benefit, not just on the communications merit badge, but there's probably several others where following up on something like a bike lane being too narrow, and also the issue at your school will satisfy other requirements on other merit badges or more pieces of the communications one, because you'll be communicating with a government office. And so don't miss out on that opportunity as well. While you're doing good work, you can earn another merit badge.
Well taken.
Zach, do
There
you
we go.
have to write with right now? Zach, do you have something to write with?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a phone number for your supervisor's office. Her name is Kathy Smith. And her number is 703-814-7100. And in a minute, I will tell you who the person is on her staff that deals with transportation issues. But you can tell her that you logged into this meeting with us and that we advised that that you should give them a call. It looks like her chief of staff, whose name is Mike Coyle, Coyle, is in charge of transportation issues as well as public safety. So if you can get his attention, you can hit two birds with one stone there.
And it's very much appropriate to raise your bike lane wideness issue to the supervisor as well. Because the supervisors are the ones who help make sure the county staff, the county government is serving constituents. You're a constituent, you tell them of a concern, that's something they will try and work on. Now, there's no guarantee, of course, but at least they'll know about it and then they can try and do something.
And I'll say that my son is an Eagle Scout, and a big part of working towards your Eagle and doing these things is the follow through. So it's good to come to this meeting, but it's even better to go ahead and make the phone call and keep following up on the issue. You might even find your Eagle project when you follow those kinds of roads.
Yeah.
Good point.
And you might even get some other members of your troop or your other friends to also do the same thing. If your supervisor gets 10 calls from people in your class, they'll pay attention to you, even if you can't vote.
Yes, they will. I'm so
Zach,
glad.
are you in the 6th grade?
Okay, thank you very much.
Zach, if you could, one last thing, as we help you map out your entire life here and give you all kinds of advice, you can tell we're excited to do this and very much appreciate you coming. But I'll also say, if you find you like transportation issues, there are internship opportunities in Fairfax County Department of Transportation. And being able to say a few years ago, because you're not quite old enough for this yet, but 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was, I dialed into a meeting. I did this. I have been interested in transportation issues. That's why I wanted to be an intern. That means something. That gets their attention. You're somebody who has been watching this for a while. Now, maybe this will be enough for you. You've had it with transportation issues after this. That's up to you. But if it's something you find that you're interested in, please pursue it. There's plenty of work to do here, and there's opportunities for you to experiment and things like that. And you come to one of these meetings anytime. We promise not to grill you every time, but you're welcome to come anytime you want.
Zach, I do have a question for you. Are you in 6th grade?
Yes, I am.
This is your first year as a Boy Scout.
Yeah, it is.
So is this one of the first badges that you're working on?
It is actually my third merit badge.
Your third already?
Wow.
That's awesome, dude.
Zach, that's impressive. I'm sure you probably want to go and get ready for bed, but
No, he doesn't.
We do, but he doesn't.
attending this meeting with us, it's made this meeting worthwhile. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Zach, is there anything else you'd like to say to us before you head on out? We promise to give you more than 2 minutes. So, but anything more you want to say is fine. You're welcome to stay if your parents let you, but I just want to know if there's anything more you want to say to us.
I think that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, sir.
Just a second. Hey, Zach,
Yes.
look at the chat box there. I just sent you my email address. I'm Calvin Lam. I'm a staff liaison for the TAC. You can email me your question or let me know about the detail about the byland or the location of your school, you know, and I can help to forward that question to the appropriate people in the FCDOT or in the county. Yeah.
Thank you, Calvin. Appreciate that.
Do you see my email address there?
Yes, I am writing it down.
You can write it down. My name is Calvin, CALVIN .LAM at fairfaxcounty.gov.
I got it. Thank you. Good
Thank you very
night.
much,
Just
Zach.
send me an email. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Good night.
Yes, good night. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, Zach.
Okay. All right. That was a welcome change. It's nice to have a guest.
And he's
Particularly-
exactly right about Stringfellow Road, just saying.
Yeah, I could tell it struck a nerve with you. You
Oh,
recognize it,
man, it is so narrow.
yeah. Yeah.
I would never
Um,
let my kids ride on it, and they're grown-ups.
I know a friend of mine used to live down, I think, the very south end of it, and it's yeah, it's kind of tight down there. Okay. Next item on the agenda is December TAC events. And this will take some executing. And we'll have to get some permissions there, but wanted to lay this out for commissioners to discuss some of our December activities. We talked about reviewing our draft work plan December 21st. I know there's been some suggestion about moving that, but for now, we'll just leave that as it is. What I'm talking about right here is trying to present our 2020 award for the TAC and the Lifetime Achievement Award for Chairman Barnes. We would like to be able to do that in front of the Board of Supervisors. They do have a meeting on the 7th of December. And we did have sort of discussions, FOIA appropriate, about the visit to the autonomous vehicle, the bus in the Mosaic District. And we were talking about doing it, excuse me, about a week or so ago, but it was difficult to get schedules aligned. But also, Kevin had a good idea, and of course he's not here this evening, about maybe considering doing a social event in the evening. The TAC in 2020 we did not, but previously, and we talked about this last year, the TAC has had a meal and had a meeting over meal. It was nice to get together, but it was not a very good way to do a meeting. So I'm not suggesting we do that this year, even with COVID, perhaps adding a little bit. I know there's still some concerns there. But the idea here is that we go to the Mosaic District, and the target date here is December 9, to go for the tour. And I think we need to do it about 2 o'clock or something like that. I think it's finished. The bus runs in the morning and then in the afternoon. And so we would talk to them at their garage, so to speak, in the afternoon. And then after that, I think it'd be about 3, 4 o'clock or something. Could convene somewhere for hors d'oeuvres or something, adult beverages if folks are so inclined, in the Mosaic District, and then and then from there take it and then I think we'd probably be done by early evening. So let me just sort of ask commissioners what they think about the idea of doing an event like that on the 9th. And the reason I've connected in this way, what I'd like to do is have given the TAC award before you go visit the TAC recipient, because the 2020 award winner is the Mosaic team. So I would like to have had their presentation and then go visit, as opposed to that still hanging over our head. So that's why it's scheduled the way it is. So thoughts?
What's the date again? December the 9th?
December 7th for the board, if we can, to make a presentation. And yes, the Mosaic trip and potential social event would be the 9th.
And the location is on Strawberry Street in front of the Target in the Mosaic District. So
Is that where their garage
yes,
is?
yes,
Oh.
that's what they told me. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, it's right there.
that's right there.
There. So yes. Kevin's good connections there. Always looking for an opportunity to socialize. That's not bad. So what level of interest do we have generally while we're, and this is not a commitment, but I am sort of trying to get a level of sort of enthusiasm check here. how interested our commissioners are, one, in going to see the bus, Mosaic bus, and then if we do that, then getting together afterwards. Is there interest in doing that? Pete?
I for one say, yeah, let's do it. Check my calendar. It works for me.
Okay.
Frankly, I'm always up for an hors d'oeuvre or two.
There we go. There we go. And actually, Pete and I talked a little bit about this. We could bring significant others if we choose to, and some of us may need to. Just saying. Kelly, I see your camera. Sorry.
It's good for me too.
Okay.
And I would like to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would definitely have to bring my significant other, otherwise be beat over the head. Besides, I'd like to show you guys to the woman in my life.
Hey, that's fantastic.
So is my significant other my husband or my bike riding partner?
That's up to
you
isn't it?
choose and you tell us.
They're two different people. Ah!
Well, it's okay. Bring them both, and we won't question your relationship. We'll just say they're with Kelly.
It brings up a legitimate point. I think that significant others would be appropriate. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a closed shop. And oh, by the way, FOIA rules prevent us from talking business anyway. So by definition, we can't be having a meeting over a beer. So, or a cocktail, whatever the case may be. So yes, these conversations should be of more general interest than just us. So yeah, please bring other folks.
Talk about.
Well, the social.
Sorry.
Are we thinking the social portion will be indoors or outdoors?
It's December. It probably would be indoors, but at that time of the afternoon, there's probably going to be some space there. I think what we can do is, sort of reconnoiter and maybe try and make a reservation to get a room in the back, wear masks if we need to. Some of these places might have, I know they try to have outdoor seating. It's just December 9th. You just don't know what kind of weather you're going to get. It's probably not going to be freezing cold, but you just don't know.
No such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. That's what I say.
Okay, well, bring your umbrellas. And that brings up a point. Recognizing the COVID situation, and Alexis, I'll start with you because you raised it. I mean, do you feel comfortable, perhaps, and other commissioners, in being inside or something like this? Is something we really need to make sure we are outside, or what do we think?
Not in close quarters. I personally, even though fully vaxxed and everything else, I'd prefer to avoid indoor situations as much as possible at this point.
Okay.
That's 2 months away, could change, but that's, if you were asking me if we were meeting tomorrow, but I'm not super comfortable with being in crowded situations indoors on masks.
Got you. Okay.
I will say Caboose Brewing down there has an upstairs area that can be sort of reserved. And they also have a very nice outdoor area with heaters.
Ooh.
And beer, just in case anybody wants beer.
Yeah.
Who
Caboose
wants beer?
Caboose is a nice space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very big.
Okay.
What's the name of the place? Kabuki?
Caboose.
Caboose, as in the train has a caboose.
Oh,
okay.
Most of the other places in Mosaic are more they're much smaller, and so you're going to be more shoulder people even in the afternoon. So I think that would be the ideal, although I'm not sure about their food choices. If anybody's looking for gourmet, that's probably not the place.
Well, you know what? After we've had a beer or two, if folks are hungry, can break up into smaller groups and go eat somewhere.
This is true. And I actually think they have a farmer's market that's going on Thursdays.
Oh.
If it's still going on in December, for what it's worth.
I mean, I've only been to the Caboose in Vienna, so I haven't been to the Mosaic one, but I actually think their food is pretty impressive. So maybe that's just me.
I agree. No, I think their food is great.
Well, I think the one at Mosaic has possibly fewer options, but.
Okay.
Oh, see, that's the larger location. I would have assumed that they actually had more options than the Vienna one.
Nope.
Okay. Well, see, that's good to know.
Okay. All right.
But your dog can come with you. If that's your significant other.
Just saying, for those who that is the situation. Okay.
Oh
okay.
my.
Well, that sounds promising. You know, now what we have to do,
I do have a new puppy, so I could bring him as my significant other.
That works.
Yep.
and again, you're not limited to one significant other. You can bring a few if you need to. Hopefully not 5 or 6, but then again, if you're that close to 5 or 6 people, we'd like to meet them all. Okay. I think that sounds great. The Pauline, I'm going to ask you first, but others can jump up. Would you be willing to contact the caboose and see what it looks like and try and make a reservation, perhaps? Because it sounds like outside, upstairs would be preferable. I think we're looking at 4 o'clock. And before we do that, Calvin, I think we need to try and lay in the tour to you know, the garage. Make sure we get that scheduled and sort of push it to the right a little bit, so to speak, so we don't we sort of are there later, as late as convenient for them. And so then because then when we're done, you know, I don't want to go drinking at 1 in the afternoon, but 2 or 3, that's a lot different.
Yes, I can do that. And I guess I'll just coordinate with Calvin, since my question, I think you just said 4 o'clock. I wasn't sure exactly what time we're gonna want the reservation.
I think that they would prefer 2 o'clock because that is something
Okay.
in between of the morning and afternoon schedule. Yeah.
How long do you think we'd be there, Calvin? Because I think they start again at 3:45, if I remember correctly, or am I making that up?
I don't remember, but they have like maybe a couple hours in between.
Okay. Because if we start at 2, and I think that's what we were talking about before, if we're there for at least an hour, maybe a touch over, that's 3 o'clock, and that's good enough. You know, we can't impose on them any more than that. And then at that point, yeah, we go at like 3 or 3:30 or something like that. Whatever it is. Maybe I think 3 might be more, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 3:30 for the reservation.
Yeah.
They operate from 10 to 2:30 Monday to Thursday, and then it is on display from 2:30 to 4. Oh, okay.
Well, let's I tell you what, let's have them reach out to them and propose, please, a schedule for us of what they'd like to do, when they'd like us to start, and do it later. I mean, we could finish by like 4 o'clock, you know, and that'd be fine for the caboose. And if we need to finish sooner, we can do that too. But move it sort of back a little bit. That way we do whatever we do in the morning, come there midday, early afternoon, do the tour, have the discussion, and then go drinking. Sorry.
I would just like to note that when we mentioned a field trip and adult beverages, all of the commissioners started getting very active. So maybe this is the do part of our job that we've been looking for.
D stands for drinking. Okay, got it. Yes, and when we start getting together as a group, and we will at some point do more of that, as long as we stop the conversation, business conversation at the meeting, there are locales nearby that we can go for a libation. Just saying, we can absolutely do that.
Just that unfortunately, often our meetings end when a lot of those locations are closing.
Well, somebody somewhere was talking about starting these meetings at 7 as opposed to 7:30. And we could be disciplined and not talk as much, and which includes me, I know. And particularly if we want to do something in the evening, we could, you know, it'd be an incentive to wrap things up more quickly, but that's a good point. So, okay. The thing I wanted to do about December 7th is now what we need to do is see if it's possible, Calvin, to get on the board's calendar. But once we start this ball rolling, we're going to need to try and finish the job. So one of the things, Calvin, is I know we get a plaque for the Tack Award. So, and I'd asked that before, we haven't seen anything back yet. We want to know the names of all the people that should be listed, at least on the citation. We know they can't put them on the plaque, it would just be relay team on the plaque. but we do need to know who should be invited on the 7th. Can you, Calvin, please try and find out who that is?
I just emailed with Ita, and
Okay.
the list is very long, so
Okay.
she is trying to narrow it down.
Yeah.
And
Well-
it's probably like over 20 people.
Okay.
Okay,
That
so
doesn't bother
so
me.
we
Does that
are
mean?
doing the relay team and also doing the Lifetime Achievement Award at the same time, right?
That's the idea. If we
Okay.
can do that. And so, and I think we'll need to work with Kevin on this for the Lifetime Achievement Award. A plaque, not much, but at least, you know, it's the thought that counts. And a citation that we can read in front of the board, along with the 2020 Tack Award. And it's, you know, two awards we were not able to bestow during the pandemic. Thank you to the board for allowing us to do so, presuming they're able to. Regarding the relay team there, recognize that certainly not all would come. But I don't mind, me personally, don't mind inviting them all. Understand FCDOT may have a different view for a variety of reasons. We can talk about that. But when it comes to the citation, I see no reason that we can't put everybody who contributed on the citation. To me, that's we ought to be able to do that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know the
Okay.
information that Ita will, after she
Okay.
finalize the list, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. And Calvin, I don't know, we can work this offline too, but do you think it'd be possible to get a plaque for Jeff for Lifetime Achievement Award, kind of like we do for the TAC Award?
Yes, I will try to get that.
Okay.
But there's a limit that last time that I was told that a limit of $50.
Okay.
So it will be tough for two, but I'll see what we can
Well,
do
but wait, it's what, $50?
for the whole thing. Yes.
Well, yeah, no, $50 for the TAC Award and $50 for the Lifetime Achievement Award. I can talk to somebody if we need to. We don't give out too many Lifetime Achievement Awards.
All right.
So,
I'll
you know,
see what.
Yeah. Let me know if there's any problems. Okay. Or we'll just give them a folded up sheet of paper. I'm sure Jeff won't mind. Sorry. Okay. All right. We'll try and do that on the 7th. And to tell you the truth, if we can't.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Didn't we not give out one last year with COVID? Would that be able to be carried over then for the budget purposes?
Well, you know, this is the 2020 award, and we're already late into 2021.
Yeah, so for the budget, could that be carried over in terms of any issues for the $50?
Good point.
I have to check. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay. But I just thought that might help you in terms of your budget issue.
Yes.
But also, I just realized or remembered, did we not give Leonard Wolfenstein Lifetime Achievement Award or some kind of thanks for your service award? Didn't we give him something?
We did give him, and then that is when I got into trouble with the with the office.
Was that when they told you don't ever do that again?
Yes.
Of course. Well, you know what? There's probably rules against this.
Well,
but I'd be willing to
we
throw in a
can
couple bucks to buy some.
we can you know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of options that we can make the black a little bit less expensive than the one that we give out, and so we work into that. Yeah.
It's not going to be Olympic medal, so yeah, it'll be modest. But I'm joking about it. But it is a thought that counts. So. So yeah, and see what we did for Leonard, because maybe we can do something there, you know, as well, you know, something similar. And again, I'm willing to talk to people if we need to.
Okay.
Okay. All right. For a short meeting, it's already 9:27. So I do want to move on unless there's any other comments or questions about the December planning. Fantastic. I thought the conversation was very good. And so now we're moving on to other business. The November meeting, I think we can be brief about that. The meeting we would have had tonight will be in November about complete streets. I think things have a way of working out. I'm glad we had this conversation tonight. I think it's been productive. So Rachel has agreed to come next month. Pete, thanks for working with the county, with Jeff and Greg, and maybe Zach can make it at that point to be part of that complete streets discussion. So that'd be very helpful. And Jeremy and Roger, I know that you're involved in consulting as well too. So very much appreciate that. So that's, unless there's any violent objections, and I'd be shocked, that's what we're going to try and do next month in November.
If I may,
Of course, sir.
If there's any questions that you can think of that these people need to be told about beforehand, just send them to me so that I can also send them to them, so they can answer your questions. That would be helpful.
You know, and some of this is just sort of what is complete streets. This is, and when we're trying to preserve some of the event, we talked about having a dialogue about complete streets. That's really what this is, because we're early on in the process. Rachel, yes, of course, has views, and she's presented to us. She had like 100-chart tour de force of kind of the history of streets. I don't think she's going to do that again, but now it's, you know, those next steps. So yes, any questions also, but this is sort of an intro discussion aimed at action. So let's find out enough about complete streets to figure out where we need to make more streets more complete and where we want to go and stuff like that.
One more.
Yes, go ahead.
If we had Rachel this time, what she asked me to put into the agenda, so everybody knows, it says Rachel Flynn will provide a brief overview of complete streets, what they are, and how Fairfax is working to create more of them throughout the county. That's where she's coming from. So,
okay. So
for her part, that's where Rachel is going to be coming from.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. All right. I think that's November. Regarding the chair's update, the big thing I've been involved in is the Confederate Names Task Force. They had a meeting yesterday. I was unfortunately not able to attend. The meeting the week before I was able to attend, and I'd attended all the other ones. So last night was the only one I've missed so far. And a big thing they were talking about the meeting before last, and I didn't hear, of course, last night, was they're doing a public outreach plan to let the public know what's happening, about the idea of changing the names, asking what they think, whether they want to do it, what the effects are, and then also potentially talking about replacement names, if in fact that's where this goes, and it kind of looks like that's probably where this goes. And so one of the things we talked about in the meeting was there are a number of folks who live in Fairfax County who really have little knowledge of the Civil War. Either they weren't paying attention in school, or they're from other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And so there's no question there's a fellow citizens, fellow residents of Fairfax County who care very deeply about renaming the streets. It's very personal, and understandably so, with them. A number of other residents, that's not the case. But the costs, there will be costs to do this. You'll have to change the street signs, yes, but also there's personal costs. You got to change your address, and sometimes there's business registrations and things like that. So one of the things we talked about was sort of trying to get ahead of that a little bit to let folks know that there will be some costs. Maybe the county can do things to help. We'll see how those conversations go. But ultimately, trying to make the case for those who believe it needs to be changed, that'd be worth it. That it's something that done out of respect for citizens for whom this is a very, very, very important issue. So I've acknowledged that I'm certainly open to changing the names. In fact, I think that's likely where I'll go. But I am listening very carefully, and there are strong arguments on either side. I don't want to have a conversation about that now, but if any commissioner does have strong views, pro or con, in or out, back or forth, please let me know. But I did want to let you know kind of what's going on and kind of how I'm positioning myself. Yes, I'm the chair of the TAC, but I'm not doing this as a I'm not espousing a TAC position. It's just, me contributing. So, okay. With that, I probably forgot something, but I can always raise it later if we need to. Let's move on to commissioners' updates. And so we're nearing the end here. And so let me go through in the order in which I called you names. So we'll start off with at-large Linda Sperling. Anything for the good of the order?
Nope, no update for me today.
Okay, thank you. Kevin is not with us this evening. I've talked enough as always. Commissioner Westenhoff, anything for the good of the group, ma'am?
Two things. One is the tour to Mount Vernon this weekend.
Yeah, yes.
You should all attend.
Mhm.
And if you don't ride a bike, you can come along and cheer as the people come back in, because there will be food afterwards. But the other thing is that yesterday, members of FAB and Nicole Winans from Fairfax County DOT and a gentleman from VDOT came out to meet several of us at the area of Monroe Street as it crosses over the bridge into Herndon, because they've recently restriped there and they put in a bike lane, and the bike lane funnels people into potential tragedy. And the local biking community was very unhappy about it. But what I wanted to say, the whole point was that they came out, and Chris Wells came out too. They came out and they listened to us, and they talked through potential solutions and potential actions they could do. They explained why they couldn't do what our first recommendation was, which was to take it out. I mean, it was a very uplifting and positive interaction. And I wanted to say, I think that's where we are going. I'm a little bit wary about using that very often. It has to be a really egregious situation, because they're all coming out there and spending their time doing that. But if you have a situation like even the thing that Zach brought up in his neighborhood, trying to get to school and all, they are listening and they are responsive, and that is different than the plans they have to come up with that are, kind of, they're the bird's eye view, but on the necessary, somebody's going to die if we don't fix this kind of things, they are being very responsive. So I wanted to give them credit for that. So that, I know that, I mean, Calvin is the representative here from the county, but, I just didn't want it to come across that I'm completely trashing them, because I'm not. I'm very appreciative of the work they're doing. And when I think about 10 years ago, when I first started really getting active with these things, the difference in the bike infrastructure now is huge. So I just want to keep that trajectory going. So.
Got it. Thank you. And that engagement and recommendations for more engagement, specific kind of engagement, absolutely something to go in our work plan. We want that to be part of it, and we can talk about exactly how. So, but thank you. Excellent report. Okay. Mason District, Roger Hoskin, anything for the good of the order, sir?
I'll pass.
Okay, thank you. Pete Sitnick, anything more for us?
You mentioned it earlier. We start at 7:30. I was thinking it might be a good idea to start these things at 7 o'clock. Frankly, I could start at 6, but I figured that a little movement to 7 might be a good thing. So that's my suggestion for the order. And maybe I missed it, but I wasn't sure how it came down. I know Kevin's not here tonight, but I was hoping that he could actually help with the burden and step up and help get Jeff his recognition he's been so long waiting for. So if you can incorporate him into that more, I know you already mentioned it a couple of times, so maybe he's already in. But that's basically it. And what I've been working on in Mount Vernon is the same, the widening and also safety on the parkway.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely reach out to Kevin on the Lifetime Achievement. That's an excellent idea. And I'm sure he'd want to be involved in some way. I don't want to devolve into a long conversation. I'm open to the idea of moving to 7. I think it's more difficult when we're live in person, but not impossible. Just a quick poll of the commissioners. Is that something that folks are excited about, recoil and horror from, or just willing to consider, or what do we think?
I'd be open to 7.
7.
Agree, 7.
Ooh. But
Not
Jeremy?
any there.
It might be tougher when we start meeting in person.
Yeah.
I mean, as maybe we'd take a look. I feel like this is one of the later commissions to start.
Okay.
As far as I know, most of the other ones do start at 7, not at 7:30.
Well, and we could also, when we meet in person, if we need more travel time, start at 7:30 and start at 7 for the virtual ones. Certainly open to doing that. Jeremy, I thought you were talking, but I think you're muted.
Yeah,
Do you
no, I
have to-
didn't. I forgot to hit unmute, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not prefer to move it up. It's managing families and getting out of school, after school care, and getting dinner. 7:30 would be preferable to me. I'd rather us focus on condensing our meetings.
Okay. Okay. And actually, you build it, they will come. If we do move it up, then it takes pressure off shortening the meetings. I take a huge part of the responsibility for the length of the meetings, of course. But yes, we can be more, a bit more focused. So let's, the November meeting, let's try and be done by 9:30. See about getting done by 9:30. Start at 7:30, done by 9:30, including the events there, and see how that goes. Is that acceptable, commissioners, for next month?
Let's try it.
Let's try
Good
it.
goal.
Okay.
It's a good
All right.
move.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thanks very much. Next, Alexis, anything from Lee District?
Sure, I'll just plug SCAB's meeting tomorrow night with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to talk about what happens when crashes are investigated. It's a follow-on from our meeting last month where we heard from Fairfax County Police Department's crash reconstruction unit. So thought that might be of interest to the Tack. That's tomorrow night at 7. Thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Okay, next, Providence District, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks. 2 quick items. First, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware about the board matter that passed the Board of Supervisors earlier this month that directed the county to look at short and long-term funding for unfunded pedestrian and bicycle paths. So they've set the county is supposed to be pulling together on the list of unfunded programs and coming up with a 1-year process and then a 5-year process to try to fund those. And then I think there's a minimum of $100 million over the next 6 years. So I'll have Calvin send over that resolution. I think it's a great step towards getting to where we all want to be. The second piece is I just wanted to make you all aware of it's a fairly new organization in Fairfax. It's Fairfax Families for Safe Streets, and full disclosure, I am on the board of that group. But the website's Nova, novasafestreets.org, and you can get to the Fairfax chapter of that. But one of the things that the group is doing is they've created a near miss survey, and so you get the data from the Department of Transportation and the police department about crashes, but where are the areas where people have, there you go, Pete's got the flyer. Where do you get the areas that are problems where people continue to have issues? And so that's an opportunity for residents to report that data, and then Fairfax Families for Safe Streets collects that data. I know they've been working with the county, and so if there's interest in getting more of a demo on that, happy to try to set that up. But I'll have Calvin share that link as well.
Okay. Oh, Jeremy, appreciate you raising that. And when we talked about it briefly, obvious potential connections to the safety part of Active Fairfax, and Kelly and Alexis, I know probably all already aware, certainly be interested. And yes, let's see if there's something there worth pursuing and maybe acting on if need be. But certainly appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Okay, anything else, sir? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Springfield District, Commissioner Thiel, Eric, anything from you?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. David is not here, so leads to our final commissioner, who, when she's done, will no doubt be eager to lead us into the motion to adjourn. But before she does that, is there anything, Mary Pauline, that you'd like to raise for the good of the order?
So Mike, I'm not sure if you were wanting to hold off on this, but did you want to do a quick informal survey about our December meeting to check on that?
We can do that. You know, we sort of did that through the conversation, and there was interest in the 9th, and part of the issue is, as you look at December and things like that, there's not that many days to choose from. And so,
I mean, I didn't know if there was talk of, because the 9th, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, was that it wouldn't be a meeting per se. We were having the field trip, if you want to call it that, and then the social. I didn't know if we were just able to push the meeting up to the 14th, or the other option would be we do have the 7th on the calendar as the work session, and having that be our actual meeting date. The reason for everyone that I'm bringing up, and maybe I'm the only one who has a conflict here, in which case this is no problem, the 21st being the holiday week, I was just concerned of whether other people would have issues making that meeting due to the holidays. I know I personally will already be out of town and would not be able to even dial into the meeting. So I didn't know if that would also be a problem for other people for the 21st.
Yeah, good point. Is there concern on the part of commissioners about the meeting on the 21st? Any desire, interest in perhaps moving it up a week? We certainly wouldn't move it back.
I concur with Mary Pauline.
Okay.
I will not be in attendance on the 21st.
Okay.
Nor I.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. The excuse me, December 21. It makes, we'd see a lot of, if this all happens, we'd see a lot of each other over those 4 days, or those 7 days, from the 7th to the 14th. So we'll probably get sick of each other, but then we get a break for the holiday. Mayor Pauline, you of course make a compelling case. I have no objections to moving the meeting up to the 14th. I will be out of town later that week, but I would be leaving afterwards. But you know, that's not the reason to keep it, particularly if there's a lot of folks that won't be around. So would we like to move our meeting to the 14th then? And I would say that's separate from what we're doing with Mosaic District and things like that. What I don't want to do, and Mary Pauline, I think you'll appreciate this, I know we all will, is sort of get back to trying to have a social event and a meeting on the same night. Those really don't seem to.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I guess the way to put this is, are there any objections to moving it to the 14th?
Do we need a motion to do this, or maybe chairman's prerogative just to do it?
If Mary made a motion, I second it.
Okay, it's in the form of a motion then.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to move the December 21st meeting to the 14th. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the meeting moving the meeting forward to the 14th, please say aye.
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 Any of those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Our meeting in December is on the 14th.
All right.
All right.
Well, sorry to add that last bit into the agenda, but now that
That's
we've
okay.
done that, I will move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
There we go. All right, there's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to adjourn the meeting. Is there any discussion on the motion? There damn well better not be. Hearing no discussion, the question is, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay.
We're adjourned.
Good. We are now adjourned at 9:46 p.m. Thank you very much, commissioners. Look forward to convening here again next month for a 2-hour meeting. Try and see what we can do.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay.
Came close.
Good night.
All right. All right. Good night. Okay.
No.